All right, good morning. I'm Wesley and I'm here to talk to you today about violence in the media, more specifically, the way we view violence in video games. Okay. Um, as Justin, as Justin said when he just came up, he talked about the recent shootings and how people view the shootings. One thing that comes with these shootings is they always do an investigation into these kids, and they find out that they have played violent video games, watched violent movies, and they somehow make some weird connection that these video games caused this. I'm here today to talk about the fact that there is no evidence for a correlation between violence in the media and violence in real life. And you all as parents should not be concerned, but that doesn't mean that you should just let your kids play whatever the heck they want. All right, to start things off, freedom of speech. Brown versus the Electronic Merchants Association. This was a case that went to the Supreme Court recently, and they decided that video games, like books and movies, constitute free speech, and that the developers of these games should be allowed to express their thoughts and opinions in these games, as well as express acts of violence like books and movies. This is very important because even though that this has gone to court several times, we still want to challenge this. We still want to say video games are making our kids bad kids, and this is not the case. The Hitman study, which was done by Dr. Ferguson and Dr. Rueda in 2010. This was a study done at Texas A&M International University, and they had four groups of people. There was one group that did not play a video game. There was one group that played a non-violent video game, a group that played a violent video game where they were the good guy, and one that played a violent video game where they were the bad guy. And what they learned from this was pretty much absolutely nothing. There's no link between games and violent video behavior. The one thing they did learn is that video games, further study is needed, but video games might actually decrease violent behavior through mood management. Video games, they access the reward centers in your brain, and that decreases stress. It decreases feelings of depression, which could ultimately make a person less violent. So, other professional findings include they all seem to support the same idea that the violence does not come from video games. Violence comes from the individual. Eugene Bearstein states, the cause of youth violence are multifactorial and include such variables as child abuse, substance abuse, and other psychotic disorders. While Dr. Stanton Stamenau says that critical is not what's on the screen or in the game, but what already exists in the mind of the player. So what I wanted you all to get out of this is that the solution is as simple as being a good parent, being there for your kids, developing these relationships with your kids to keep them from becoming violent in the future. Most kids that are violent have been abused as children. There are over 8,000 cases of child abuse reported each year in the U.S. Also, talk to your kids about video games. Not all games are appropriate for all ages, and that is why we have the rating system. So, the rating system, it's on the bottom right-hand corner of both the front and the back of the game. It'll tell you what age group the game is appropriate for and the reasons it's rated that way. So knowing this, it'll give you a lot more to go on than just games are bad when you try and choose games for your kids. Also, playing games. I know a lot of parents. My grandmother absolutely hates video games. She hates them. She's never played one in her life. So, play games. It'll help you discuss games with your kids. It'll make you more knowledgeable on the subjects, what games contain, why people love games so much. And so, to sum it all up, video games are free speech, and they should be treated that way. We shouldn't be trying to censor games because we think there's some fake correlation between games and violence. And studies have shown that video games, violence in the media, is not correlated to violence in real life. And instead, we should be focusing on being there for our kids rather than trying to find a scapegoat for why our kids are so bad.